a warning. This report from our Southeast Asia correspondent, Siobhan Robbins, contains images of violence and dead bodies.
This is the story of a massacre in Myanmar. Of at least 37 people brutally killed on Christmas Eve. A majority Christian community looking forward to the holidays. Now the site of one of the worst mass killings since the military coup. The military government says those who died were suspected terrorists, but others claim they were just ordinary people. Among the dead, 2 charity workers, a disabled man, at least 1 child. So what happened on that day? This is Myanmar. A country torn apart by violence since last February's coup. On one side, the military or junta who, claiming electoral fraud, overthrew the government and took control. On the other, protesters, armed groups and militias fighting to restore democracy. The Christmas Eve killings happened in Kayar State in eastern Myanmar. It's an area which has seen some of the most intense fighting between rebels and military. To piece together what happened, our teams in Thailand, Myanmar and London, with investigators from Myanmar Witness, have analysed images and tracked down family members and witnesses.
I have never seen anything like this in my entire life. People tied up and killed.
Among those who died is a 28-year-old named Lyra. His siblings describe him as a hard-working family guy. They also tell us his left hand isn't fully formed. It's an important detail. We'll come back to that later. At around 8 a.m. on Christmas Eve, Lyra leaves his home on his motorbike for the final time. He's off to buy a car with a friend. At 10 a.m, the junta says soldiers begin stopping vehicles on this road. It's the one Lyra's thought to be travelling on. 4 members of the junta-allied border guard force are sent to investigate. At 10:56, a man, Kukenya, starts taking photos of people fleeing a nearby village. They've heard gunfire. Soon after, local militia films and later releases this. It's the earliest footage our team has found of the site. Analysis of the shadows by experts at Myanmar Witness suggest it was filmed around 11:30 a.m. A car belonging to 2 Save the Children staff is burning. 3 trucks carrying fuel are beginning to smoke, but haven't yet burst into flames, suggesting the fire started fairly recently. Shortly after, they explode. By 1:19, the fires are big enough to be picked up by NASA's fire detection satellite. Around 10 minutes later, a rebel unit reaches the site and films it. The Save the Children car is now burnt out. A few meters away, the rebels tell us they find 4 dead men. The bodies of the border guards sent earlier to investigate why vehicles were being stopped. Hands tied, they've been shot. And they aren't the only victims. Christmas Day, rebels return and say they find 31 bodies burned beyond recognition. 3 bags of body parts are also later collected.
Hello, doctor. Can you hear me okay?
A doctor who did the post-mortem examinations agreed to speak to us. We've changed the names and voices of all of the people we spoke to in Myanmar for their protection.
The skulls were completely smashed, maybe shot with a gun or beaten with something. And in the chest and back, there were some injuries from being stabbed with a sharp object. There were bullet holes on the body, and most of the bodies were tied up.
The level of violence is horrific. The damage to the bodies so extensive, it's hard to know everything that happened before they died. By now, the military has broadcast. The level of violence is horrific. The damage to the bodies so extensive, it's hard to know everything that happened before they died. By now, the military has broadcast its version of events. It says soldiers tried to stop 7 vehicles thought to be linked to an alleged terror plot. It claims the people inside attacked with bombs and guns. Security forces shot back. Then the vehicles caught fire. The military later says it tried to save people. It claims the rebels killed the border guards. It also issues photos of 2 dead men in military-style uniforms, calling them enemies. But evidence we found raises new questions. 13 days after the massacre, the militia says it discovers 2 bodies in uniforms matching the photo of the so-called enemies near to the site of the fire. One is covered with branches, the other hidden by a rock. But these photos taken during the post-mortems show under the uniforms, the men are dressed in civilian clothes. Both have been shot, but police tell us there are no bullet holes or even blood on the men's uniforms. And that's not all. In this image from state media, the gun looks unnatural, as if it's been placed on the body for a photo. And there's more. By adjusting the contrast on this photo, our team found the blur fades. This alleged soldier is missing his left hand. It appears to be Lyra, who's not been seen since the attack. We show his family. They believe the junta framed him and dressed him up to make him look like a rebel fighter.
They used Lyra's body to stage that he was from the KMPP. They just wanted to clean up the evidence. That's why they put the uniform on Lyra.
Our team searched through the photos of the burnt vehicles and found this. The motorbike police confirmed Lyra was riding that day. His death was brutal.
2 teeth were missing. His skull was beaten and smashed, and there were 2 bullet holes in the chest.
And questions over the deaths of Lyra and his friend Kalli aren't the only ones. The military says armed rebels died while fleeing. So why were so many of the bodies tied up? How can the deaths of 2 charity workers and a young girl be explained? We put this evidence to the military government. It hasn't responded. We also showed our findings to the UN Human Rights Monitor for Myanmar.
The film that I've just seen is just absolutely horrific. And it's unfortunately not uncharacteristic. The Myanmar military are known for this. Again, we need to fully investigate it. But these are all the hallmarks of a war crime.
The full scale of what happened here is still unfolding. Police say 40 people have been reported missing. Those responsible for Myanmar's Christmas Eve massacre may never be brought to justice. Siobhan Robbins, Sky News.